Yes, yes, yes. I kind of got my phone on this, like, very, compromising situations are on edge right now, so it's not very stable. So I'm hoping that, my camera doesn't fall while I'm recording this. But yes, I am back again with another movie review. If my voice sounds a little bit different, that's because I'm getting over a cold, so I'm still under the weather, but I'm still gonna give a pretty good review, or at least the best review that I can. Now, this review is gonna be for the new Shazam movie starring Zachary Levi. I believe that's what his name is. And just got back from seeing it, so I guess let's get on right into it. Now, when I first saw the trailer, I didn't know what to think of this film. I was quite skeptical of it, to be honest, because it didn't really, I'm not going to say that the trailer was bad. I'm just saying that I was just kind of like a little bit cautiously optimistic, It looked like it could either go one or two ways. It could like go like the more fun route or the more exciting, lighthearted route. Or it just looked like it was just going to be way too silly, way too goofy for the wrong reasons. And now that I've seen it, I'm so glad to say that, man, it definitely surprised me, man. This film, definitely really good. I really liked it a lot, man. They really knocked it out the park with this one. It's a very funny film. Like I said, it's a very different approach from what we're kind of used to seeing, especially with DC. This is a very different tone. It's not dark at all. It's very more like family friendly, lighthearted. In the theater that I was seeing it in, there was like quite a few kids in the audience, and they seemed like they had a good time with this. So this is definitely one of those films that you could take your kids out to go see, man, and just have a good time. They're gonna have a ball with it. The supporting cast, they did a great job, man, because Billy Batson, which is the main character of the film, he's pretty much a teenager in this film, and he's basically a foster kid. And he runs away from foster homes a lot because he lost his mom. Not like his mom didn't die, but he got separated from his mom at a very early age. So all through his life, he was trying to find his mother. So he didn't really feel comfortable, staying with other people. He kind of felt like that wasn't his true family. He was trying to find his real mom, and, that was the reason why he ran away so much from these foster homes. But the last foster home that he found, that's the foster home he pretty much stayed in throughout the most of the entirety of the film. And the people that he stayed with, his foster brothers and sisters, which is the supporting cast of this film, they did great, man. They were all funny. Each one of them had their unique characteristics, and they really carried this film. They helped they helped with the comedy pretty much. And one of the things I did like about it was as soon as Shazam stepped up, because it's like, soon as every scene, man, Shazam took over the whole scene. His roles was funny, his lines were funny, and like I said, soon as he entered the film, man, it was just like, it just brought the film to a whole nother level. And it was very fun to watch. Like, he was very entertaining, very likable, man. Zachary Levi, he knocked this role out the park, man. And he actually shows up pretty much, I think close to an hour in. So you don't see him in the very beginning, that first 30 minutes or first 45 minutes, I believe. He really doesn't show up until that 40 or 45 minute mark. That's when he shows up. But in the beginning of the film, it's mostly about Billy. It's mostly about the history behind the power of Shazam and stuff like that. And the wizard giving the power to the champion, because the last wizard in the council, he's dying, and he needs to transfer his power over to a new host, pretty much. And he goes years searching for the perfect candidate to carry this power. And, he basically had no choice but to give it to Billy, because his powers were wearing out. He had to give it to somebody. So Billy was the one. So he's the one that carried the torch, and like I said, he did a great job. The villain in the movie, I don't want to go too much in the plot, but the villain of the movie, he was pretty interesting, very cold-hearted guy, and yeah, he was very, very stoic, man, very serious. And I did like the villain of this movie too, man. And there's really not much to say about him, but he's definitely, you know, definitely just that run-of-the-mill, stoic, kind of like cold-hearted villain. He had one scene, I'm not going to spoil it here, but he had this one gangster scene. I was like, damn, you know, when you see it, you probably know what I'm talking about. But he had that one just swing. I was like, okay, shoot. Didn't really care about anything. They didn't really care about anybody. And that's because what you see when he grew up, because the movie starts with the villain as a little boy and his parents. Well, his dad and his brother, pretty much. And it basically shows, you know, why he's like this. Why is he so, like, just cold, you know what I'm saying? And it's very messed up because, you know, the way that his dad treated him, kind of like, you know, his dad was kind of like a douchebag pretty much. So that's where he get that kind of like envy from, that kind of angst. And speaking of envy, this movie does have to deal with the 7 deadly sins. So yeah, I'll just put that out there. But yeah, man, the villain was pretty good. Like I said, this is a very different approach for DC. This is not the standard DC type of film. This felt more like a it didn't really feel, I want to say it felt like it's close to like a Marvel type of movie. But it's definitely like, if you've seen Spider-Man, like definitely like Spider-Man Homecoming, it has that type of feel to it. It has that fun kind of like playable, you know, just don't really take anything too seriously kind of ordeal where you're just having fun throughout the entire film. You know, even through the serious scenes, you know, it's always some kind of comedy thrown in, and it's not a bad thing. I'm saying that, you know, with good reason. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, man, it's kind of like, you know, DC's version of Spider-Man, pretty much. Like Billy Batson, he's not like as witty as you know, Peter Parker. You know, Peter Parker is kind of like witty, he likes to crack these smart alecky jokes or whatever. But, you know, Billy Batson, he's trying to figure out his powers, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, he kind of has that similar style to Peter Parker. Like I said, he's not really as witty. He kind of comes off more like corny and cheesy. But it works in this film, definitely with the tone. It definitely works. And that's why I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, when I watched the trailer, I was like, man, this don't, you know, it could go one or two ways, but the way they did it, I really like this approach that they did. I felt like, you know, with Shazam, I don't really know too much about the comic lore behind, you know, the actual Captain Marvel and stuff like that, and, you know, the whole history behind Shazam, but, you know, I learned the basis of it, and the basis is very mystical. It could be very dark. I mean, definitely, you know, DC is a dark kind of like comic, you know, dark kind of comic company, so a lot of their, you know, lore is very dark and gritty, and they could have definitely took that route with Shazam, but they kind of did the opposite, where they wanted to make Shazam more lighthearted and more like welcoming and more open. And I felt like this definitely worked because, you know, I feel like this film kind of brings in a new audience, you know, who don't know Shazam, and, you know, maybe they don't want to see like a dark and gritty. They kind of, I don't know, I kind of felt like they wanted to take this approach because they wanted to gather a new audience, because this is a pretty, it's not a new character. If you're a comic head, you know Shazam has been around for years, but this is like his film debut. So they're like, you know, we could go real dark and serious and stuff like that, or we could take the more lightheaded, like the lighthearted approach and welcome a new audience in to appreciate this character. And I felt like it definitely worked, man, because I feel like when people watch this film, you know, people who never heard of Shazam, they may be now interested in learning about this character more because, you know, he was just so likable. And I feel like this film will bring in a new audience to Shazam. And I hope that this movie gets a sequel. I'm pretty sure that a sequel will come in the future because, you know, from what I've just been seeing online with the reviews, it seems like everybody's been loving this film, and with good reason, man. This film is a very good film. It's definitely very solid. you know, I really can't say much, you know, here. I mean, as far as like, you know, bad, I really don't really have anything bad to say. I would kind of say like the, like I was going back to before with Shazam's powers. Like, I felt like he was figuring out his powers a little bit too much all throughout the movie, and it felt like he didn't really had a full grasp of his powers. Even like in the end when he was fighting the villain, it just felt like he didn't like fully master his powers. It was just kind of like, I don't know, you're kind of expecting like this big battle to happen, and you know, Shazam is like all mastered up and he's ready to fight the villain. And he does fight the villain, but it's not like that big payoff. It's kind of like, you know, they did it too lightheartedly. And it's not too much of a bad thing. It's not really where it's not really something to where it will take you out the film. It's more so of like, man, you know, I know this movie is very fun and very, you know, cheesy and corny in certain ways, but I really feel like they should have had like a really great action scene towards the end. And like I said, the action scene towards the end, like I said, it was very fun and it was very entertaining, but it wasn't like, it wasn't really like impactful. You know what I'm saying? Like, I compared this movie to Spider-Man, but even in Spider-Man, like when the serious moments happened, it happened. Like Peter Parker, he knew how to fight. In this film, I felt like Shazam didn't really know how to fight, even all throughout the film. Like, he's always trying to figure out, you know, his powers. He's always trying to figure out what to do. And, you know, he does learn certain things towards the end, but I just feel like he doesn't really master it. Like, he doesn't really, like, you don't even feel like he's, you know, you do take him kind of seriously as a superhero, but then again, he's like just so funny and just lighthearted and just so cheesy. It's just like you kind of don't take him serious at the same time. It's kind of weird, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I like about it. It's like the whole tone is that way. The whole tone is very just, you know, whatever, just go into it, you know, have fun. Like, and that's what I'm going to say here. Like, if you're going into it, you know, looking for Shazam to kick butt and, you know, Shazam just to like, just whoop ass all over the film, you're going to be disappointed. This is not that type of movie. This is not, I mean, it's definitely, if you've seen the trailers, you should have picked that up from the trailers. But, you know, if you're kind of going to it thinking that, man, Shazam is going to kick ass, he's going to just wipe everybody, you know, through the floor or whatever, you're going to be disappointed, man. This is not that type of film. This is the type of film where you go in, you got to have fun with it. You got to have a good time. You're going to have a lot of laughs. And that's what this movie will bring, man. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of likable characters, man. Like, so many likable characters. Every character, man. Billy Batson, the foster kids, the parents, you know, everybody. The villain I liked. You know, the wizard, which is played by Jaimin Hunsu. I think that's what his name is, his real life name. He was a good character. He wasn't in it that much throughout the movie. He was mostly in the beginning, but even his role was good. And like I said, everybody just delivered, man. And I feel like everybody just had a good time with it. And this is a very fun movie, very fun film. So definitely go out and see it, man. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm thinking about seeing it again, to be honest with you. And yo, DC, I just gotta add this before I go. DC is definitely stepping it up, man. They're stepping it up. You know, I feel like they're going in the right direction. I feel like they kind of figure out that, hey, we're not competing with Marvel anymore. We're just gonna do our own thing, and I feel like that is working for them. I feel like what they're doing, they're not like the studio of itself, like the corporate, you know, DC heads, you know, the higher ups, they're not like mingling with the project. They're kind of like making the director do its own thing. I felt like they did that with Aquaman, and that's why Aquaman succeeded. I felt like they did that with Wonder Woman, and they let Patty Jenkins make her film. Patty Jenkins made Wonder Woman the way she wanted to, and that's why Wonder Woman turned out to be so great. The same thing with Aquaman. I felt like they made James Wan just make Aquaman the way he wanted to, and that's why Aquaman turned out so good, so great, I should say. And the same thing here. I don't know who directed it, but whoever was directed, they said, you know what? Just make Shazam the way you want it to, and just go with it, man. And that's why I think this movie succeeded. They're just letting the director have full creative control, no like control from the higher ups. It's like, hey, whatever you feel is best for this film, go at it and do it. I mean, I don't know if that's what they're actually doing, but it just seems that way now. It just seems that DC is like, we're not gonna butt into this too much. We're not gonna, try to have too much creative control. We just gotta let the director and the actors do their thing, and we're just gonna support it, man. And I feel like this change of pace for DC is definitely causing them to go on the up and up. They're on the right path right now, and I'm definitely liking the way that they're going. They're going in a brand new direction, and I'm definitely loving it. And I feel like, they're trying to like branch away from the whole DCU thing, try to do the shared cinematic universe. They kind of realize that we can't compete with Marvel on that. Marvel, they made that. They own that. They own the whole, they know how to do shared cinematic universes. We're not trying to be like Marvel. We're DC. We have great characters, and we're just going to deliver these great characters on screen the best we can, and we're just going to give you just great films. And if they keep focusing on that, DC is going to be right there, man. They're going to be right there. So big props to DC. I'm liking where you guys are going, man. Keep up with it. And I actually saw the trailer for the Joker. That film looks fantastic. Like, the trailer sold me. Like, I'm like, I don't know how the film is gonna turn out. It could turn out to suck, but I'll be so disappointed if it does, because that trailer really sucked me in, man. Like, Joaquin Phoenix, he looks like he plays no games in that movie, man. Like, that Joker movie, it kind of, like, when I was watching it, it kind of had like that Dark Knight vibe. To be honest, it had that Dark Knight essence to it. And I was like, we haven't seen this type of film in a while from DC. Like, that kind of like dark and gritty Christopher Nolan Dark Knight kind of like feel. This one has it, man. And I can't wait to see that movie. And if that movie turns out to be a great success, I'm telling you, DC is back, man. Well, I can't say they back as far as like cinematic movies go, because their history has been but I would say DC right now is definitely on the rise, and I'm so happy to see DC finally get it. It seems like they finally got their heads out of their asses, and like, they're on the prowl, man. They're on that right road. They're walking that right road, and I just gotta say, DC, just keep walking that right road, man. You're definitely doing the right thing right now, and you're definitely on pace right now. So, man, big shout out to DC. Shout out to this film, Shazam. Shout out to Zachary Levi. You guys did great. I think I'm going to wrap it up from here, man. I don't think I have too much to say after this. But my next review is kind of going to be a little bit of a late review. I should have seen this last weekend when it released, but I think about seeing it tomorrow. So my next review is going to be Dumbo, because I do want to see that. So, just look out for that, and I'm going to wrap it up from here. My throat is shot. So, till my next one, man. I don't even have a proper outro yet, but just going to roll with it. All right, y'all.